So we're waiting for news here, but Tyrese Halliburton missed the last game that the Kings played. They were not good in San Antonio against the Spurs, but they have another good matchup. The Spurs defense was lacking without Jakob Poeltl. Didn't matter. The Kings were still pretty bad. But now they're playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, chance to bounce back. And I think Buddy Hield in the mid-range is someone that no one's going to be thinking about. He just hasn't been very good lately, hasn't really been good this season. But because of the way he plays, where he just is launching threes all the time, there is upside for him. So assuming Halliburton's out, I think Hield is actually one of the better plays in the mid-range. And especially if that news comes after lock, I think the ownership is going to be really, really low on him too. So I kind of like this whole Sacramento side. If guys like Halliburton and then even Terrence Davis are out, just opens up a lot of minutes for everyone. We actually saw Hield start last game. He's started a couple times when Halliburton hasn't played this year. So I think we get that opportunity again. Hield is a pretty good play.
Kenny, price check for me in the salary range, please.
Yeah, I'm going to go with John Collins at $7,100. Look, you look at the last 8 games, he's at a floor of 30 minutes, and now no DeAndre Hunter, no Bogdan Bogdanovic, or potentially anyway, no Bogdan Bogdanovic or DeAndre Hunter. I think that could definitely open things up for Collins if one or both of them sit. 35 minutes last game. I know that the Nuggets are not the best matchup. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. But I think that both these teams should be in for an absolute battle. Matt mentioned that, Nikola Jokic maybe comes out fired up here. I think the Hawks have something to say on offense. And I also don't think that many people are going to just run after John Collins here, considering he's had 2 bad games in a row. They came against Utah and Golden State, 2 very good defenses. And I know you're not really getting like an upgrade here with Denver, but I do think that John Collins is a very talented offensive player, and he probably garners more usage than the low usage rates he's seen over the last, I would say, 10 or so games if both these guys sit. So I'm waiting on the injury news, but I think $7,100 is a really good price to pay for a guy that could easily get you 30 or 40 fantasy points if the scenario is right with his minutes.